After college, I moved out to California, and it was beautiful out there. I lived in Santa Cruz for 3 years, and the ocean, the mountains, the redwood forests, the warmth and the sun, it was all amazing. I'm sure this isn't accurate, but in my memory, every single day was 75 degrees and sunny. Every day. Every single day was perfect for a bike ride or a hike or a walk to the beach. It was a lot of pressure. After a couple of years, I realized that I found the beautiful, consistent weather kind of unsettling. I really missed the New England seasons. I missed these crisp October mornings when the first leaves are just starting to turn orange. I missed November when the trees are all bare and it feels like the earth is getting ready to go up to bed and be quiet. I missed January with the snowstorms and the icicles and the fires. And I miss spring when the bulbs start coming back up and the whole world feels like it's resurrecting. I also miss the day-to-day weather changes. A cold, drizzly day gave me permission to curl up under a blanket on the couch, and a cloudy day followed by a perfectly sunny day seemed all the more glorious. Now, obviously, a lot of people in the world live where there aren't the same seasons we have or aren't marked by such changes, but perhaps because I grew up in this area, these cycles are like in my bones. It almost feels like I need them. For me, these natural cycles sort of feel connected to the ancient cycles of Sabbath. For the ancient Israelites and also for Jesus, there were short-term cycles. 6 days you shall do your work, but on the 7th day you shall rest. And there were long-term cycles. For 6 years you shall sow your land and gather in its yield, but the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow. And there's even longer term cycles. From Leviticus 25, you shall count off 7 Sabbaths of years. 7 times 7 years. You shall make the 50th year holy and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. In it you shall not sow nor reap, for it is Jubilee. It shall be holy to you. Every 7th day is for rest. Every 7th year is for rest. Every 50th year is for rest and for return and for freedom. Cycles of work and rest, of sowing and reaping and lying fallow. We have largely forgotten these concepts, of course. Few Christians take a real Sabbath anymore. I mean, really, can you imagine taking an entire day once a week to accomplish nothing? I mean, really accomplish nothing, right? No grocery shopping, no laundry, no, I'll just fix that doorknob, no checking the spreadsheet on the laptop, nothing. How is that possible when there's so much for us to do? So much for us to buy. Ministers, honestly, can be the worst at this. We like to talk about our Sabbath day, but we are equally as likely to brag about how busy we are, or talk about how we had to skip a vacation week because we were so needed by our congregations. That isn't dedication, my friends, that is ego. And fear that our congregations might think they're not getting our money's worth out of us, so we better prove to them we are working hard. I have a colleague who was due for a sabbatical 3 years ago, but he keeps putting it off because it's not a good time. There was the Capitol campaign, and then there was that conflict, and then there was COVID, and now there's a staff vacancy. He's exhausted, but it's not a good time. There's always more to do. There's always the list of tasks. It is never a good time for us to rest, right? Which is maybe why God gives us very specific instructions. Rest on the seventh day. Let the fields lie fallow in the 7th year, and let everything reset in the 50th year. And it is not lost on me that I will soon turn 50 years old. It will be my Jubilee year, my friends, my Jubilee year. My sabbatical is about so many things. It's about an honest need to rest from the emotional and spiritual demands of ministry that, to be honest, don't let up. It's about the need for me to remember that I am not my work, and I do indeed have an identity apart from my ministry. It's about remembering priorities, that I can't always put off a visit to my dad or a weekend with my daughter because of church obligations. It's about processing the grief and trauma of the last 18 months, the horror of watching so many die, and so many of our loved ones and leaders making decisions that are maddening. It's about remembering that this is not my church. West Parish is not my church, it is God's church. Whether West Parish is successful, and that's a whole other sermon, or whether it grows, or whether pledges increase, that is not up to me. I am called to do my best, to preach, to encourage, to inspire, to ask questions, but ultimately it's up to all of you and the work of God in our midst. To think that West Parish is mine to single-handedly improve is wildly irresponsible of me and both theologically and practically foolish. Stepping away for a sabbatical will remind me of all of this and hopefully remind you as well. Because, as I've said many times, this is renewal time for all of you also. Use it wisely. Please don't add more things, but instead stop and pay attention. Listen to one another. Notice how things feel. Notice your own longings, your discomfort, your own joy. Instead of complaining, offer to help. Instead of criticizing, pause and wonder about your own grief that is springing up. And marvel at our community. I love these words from John Pavlovitz. He wrote an essay about the challenges of this moment, how we're all exhausted from so much, and that the antidote is community. He says, we surround ourselves with people who value us not only for the work we do, but for the inherently vulnerable beings with finite resources that we are. Those who demand that we rest and encourage us to play and give us space to pause so that we are not consumed by the brutality of the day. Community is an elixir for the soul, and we need such good togetherness more than ever. How beautifully that describes Christian community, a place where we are valued for just being, not what we do, a place where we're encouraged to rest and play, a place where our souls receive a balm just by being together. Pavlovitz says that we are to tether ourselves to one another. I love that. That's what a church is, right? We're bound together by the Spirit. We're formed into the body of Christ. When we join this church, we make promises to each other to stand and journey with each other. We are, in fact, tethered by invisible cords of love and compassion. So, good people, honor this sabbatical time. Not because you're able to set down all the tasks of the church. Yes, the bills must still be paid. The worship must be arranged, coffee hour set up, German food cooked. But I pray that you will do all this with a renewed spirit of attention. My stepping away might shed a different light on some things. So while I am off praying and resting and learning, I hope that you might find some of the same. It is not what you do together that really matters, but who you are together. So as the leaves begin to fall and the air gets cold, it's a perfect time to turn inward and ponder the cycles of God. So I pray that each one of you will find rest and renewal in these 3 months. Amen.